Yeah, I still don't have Wi-Fi.
Okay.
We're live.
Okay, it's 5 o'clock on May the 27th. I'm going to call this meeting to order of Pointer Village Council. And I'll read the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that this land on which we are gathered today is part of the ancestral land of the Chippewa, Ottawa, and Potawatomi peoples, referred to collectively as the Anishinaabe. It is through the connection of the Anishinaabe with the spirit of the land, water, and air that we recognize their unique cultures, traditions, and values. Together as treaty people, we have a shared responsibility to act with respect for the environment that sustains all life, protecting the future for those generations to come. Is there anyone with pecuniary interest?
No one.
As always, you can, if something comes up, you can acknowledge at that time. Move down to adoption of the minutes from April 22nd.
So moved.
Okay, and seconded by Council Williams. Thank you. Any questions?
I have a question,
Okay.
Your worship. Then under the new business on the new bill for environmental services, I was wondering, is that tender document ready yet? No.
Is the tender document ready yet? I would say no. It isn't, but we haven't fully decided if we're going back to tender. It's leaning towards not.
Well, I got an update, that's all I wanted, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor? Okay, move on to financial reports, general operations.
Working on it.
Oh, right.
Sorry.
I could bring it up here, but I don't know. Make it bigger so you can. He's got it. You do have it?
Yep.
Good.
Thank you.
Yep.
I will move that the total revenues in general operations for the month of April 2025 in the amount of $669,233.69 be approved. And that the total expenditures in general operations for the month of April 2025 in the amount of $1,790,143.70 be approved.
Thank you. Any questions? All in favor?
I'll second.
Oh, sorry, I didn't have a second. Thank you. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Move on to environmental services, financial statement.
I'll move that the total revenues in environmental services for the month of April 2025 in the amount of $278,577.50 be approved. That the total expenditures in environmental services for the month of April 2025 in the amount of $98,185.20 be approved. That updated financial statements for the month of March 2025 showing revenues of $138,849.64 and expenditures of $303,558.52 be received and filed.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councilor Mondu. Questions? All in favor?
So I just wanted, if I may, I just want to talk a little bit here about these financial statements, and we've had some discussion about a different version of statements coming to you. And I've asked Jane to come tonight to talk to this a little bit. And so I don't know if I want to, do you want to just explain why we're not, or do you want me to start and you kind of fill in? So the software that we have does not lend very well to putting to get like digging the information out to present it the way that Jane would like to. Is she's been trying, but it's not very good for that. It's different coming from, the budget documents came from her Excel spreadsheets, and that was quite easy to do what she wanted to do, but this software isn't set up very well to do it. So she is continuing to work towards it, but it's proven to be much more difficult than she thought it was going to be. So that's why today we don't have the different version of report that we were hoping to have. We have, we've been talking to new suppliers about new software, and that's one of the things that we're looking at is the ability to draw out reports and get information. So I think that whether it's worth investing a whole lot of time into the old software is kind of up for debate. But it's something we're looking for in the new software. So I just wanted to give a bit of an explanation as to why we're still with the old system.
But you're already reviewing with vendors on the new software.
Yep, we've met with a couple.
So it's really not worth wasting time on the old, right? Because you're already in the process of finding a new, looking for a new software. Okay,
But that would be a year out before we would have any type of transition at least. And I think all that I thought we were gonna be doing was just getting a very high level memo, executive summary saying, like if there were three line items that were abnormal in the quarter, it would just say that overtime in Department X is exceptionally high because of ABC. That's all. And if a line item's on spending on trending properly, that there'd be no note. That's all I thought we were looking for.
Okay.
Just a very quick, so that we didn't have to go line by line. You would just bring to our attention the one or two items that needed
Okay.
some explanation.
I guess we were picturing, or I was picturing something totally different, something more visual than verbal. That would be like, we talked a little bit more about it yesterday. So, if we have a document that would show, across all departments, we've budgeted 28% of revenue is going to be or 28% of our expense is going to be wages. And we're running at, so you have a budgeted document or pie chart, most likely, and then an actual pie chart that shows, well, we're actually running at 32% of expenses as wage. So that's what I was envisioning.
Yep.
Um,
And ultimately, that is what we would want to get to. But for the interim,
Okay.
because I don't think we're doing the due diligence on the financial statements right now, just because so much information is given to us. So if it just was like I said, whether the managers could write it or you or Jane, but just if say there's a department, a line that has $10,000 budgeted, but nothing's been spent.
mhm.
Why hasn't that been spent? It would just say it's a timing issue. Stuff's been ordered and it'll be delivered in the third quarter or whatever.
Okay.
Like not a lot of time, but just the ones that jump off the page, just why are they like that?
Okay.
That's all I was looking for.
Okay. Well,
But if that's not doable and we want to wait, then that's fine too, but.
well, isn't that some of what we do at committee? When we ask questions about overtime or,
But it's just the document we get is just, we have to dig. And then at committee, is that the right time to be asking
I
the
thought it was a
question?
better time,
Yeah.
but because we're just there with the manager in that group,
Mhm.
but anyway, like you say, within a year, they'll have new software and.
I think, as Jim explained, there's two key challenges we're facing. The first one, the system. So the system doesn't support the functionality that we are looking for. Kind of have a really nice, properly laid out data. And then once we have lay out properly data, you can run a report as we design. We can kind of create part easily, just 10 minutes as you want it. But the data is kind of, we only can create a PDF file, and Jim saw that file, convert it to Excel file, that's all the layout is just not so, it's not, kind of, it's just kind of, it's based off of merge and the different column. And it's just so time consuming to manipulate the data.
Yeah.
Also, and the second one is the current chart accounts, there's not a crucial kind of facts or challenges we are facing, because the one we couldn't categorize the proper revenue and expense. The example we say overtime. So basically, if the overtime, if the kind of chart accounts is designed and we create probably, we want to see overtime, all the overtime, either have the coding, right? It's 0040, that's the overtime. But the 0040 could be part-time, it could be seasonal or something, because it wasn't originally kind of built based on the nice structure. And if we use a description, sometimes they're not. So it's just not very consistent. That's why, during the budget process, we have to spend the time to kind of create, generate a meaningful report for council for public. For the monthly one, it's just time kind of very rush, gotta close the book and then create a report because we want to add more as much as we can and then reduce the variance compared to the budget. So this is the time, how many days, how many hours we have on my end to get the report. And currently we just use the GL summary one. And I do agree with you, this kind of line by line, we put in which one we need to focus on to see the variance. So right now, all the data there, just kind of see how create a meaningful kind of a summary one to give kind of public from council to see where we are and how do we manage our finance. But we're working on it. And Jill mentioned that to me yesterday. I said, we do that we do quarterly budget analysis instead of a monthly GL summary report. So if we do the quarterly one, we can have a really kind of nice layout. This is the report summary based on the category, salary, utilities, materials, contract, and then give a chart. If you want the pie, you will see the allocation, or you want to see the column, you can see the trend. And also, that's the next step. We're going to do the forecast because the thing is we want to make sure the budget is under control. We see the variance, how we control the remaining kind of the months, make sure they're under budget. So then that's the fourth one. I think that makes sense from general, for the nonprofit organization, other municipalities, and city finance, for example, we do quarterly one. But the quarter one normally, just it doesn't make really sense because for us, budget is just done in March. So the important one is quarter two and quarter three because we use that one for our next year's budget. So I just kind of the option there. If we want to kind of really improve the current process, and then we'll say, are we going to make this this reporting period, use a quarterly instead of monthly, and then also allow us, to kind of work on the budget variance analysis. It's not only data, you want to see the explanation. So for example, over time, what happened? Why is it kind of 5%, unfavorable, which means overspend compared to budget? Then I'll have to work with the general manager. Hey, you are the take accountability to your budget and what happened today and what happened tonight, and they will ask explanation, and then they kind of work together as a team and then give that explanation. And that's more valuable information as council and public to know how the money they cannot spend, how the money they cannot apply. So this is an opinion from kind of the So if you every councilor and mayor councilor and then public have any specific request and concern, we can send email to me and to Jim, or we can set up a meeting and we can have a further discussion.
So I guess a little bit of confusion.
Yep.
So with everything you talked about was very, very granular and very stuff that at your end is very important.
Mhm.
All I was really looking for was like 5 bullets of here's the things that you are watching,
Okay.
like saying, we're seeing a trend in this department that blah, blah, blah,
Yep.
right? So just things that are of, you got your eye on, right?
For now, yeah, we can do that.
And that's all I'm saying,
Okay.
just 5 bullets and say, just very high level, here's this department, like utilities are way over because Blue Water Power has increased rates 30%. Boom, that's all we need. That, nothing more than that, but
So you
exactly.
pause of variance, correct?
Yeah. And so I don't see it being an onerous task, but just as
No,
part of
thanks.
your sort of analysis. But we don't need all the, like the data, the raw data or the.
It's a mini summary.
Yes, yeah, like a little executive summary of, and here's the things that Jane and Jim are watching or are aware of. So that's all I was looking for. So,
That helps.
okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
So
Yeah.
the committee report.
Yeah, I'm not sure, did we vote? We had a discussion. Did we all vote?
Pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay, we did. Okay,
It lost.
yeah. Okay, we're moving on to committee reports from May 13th. First one is operations.
I'll move that the operations committee meeting minutes of May 13th, 2025 be adopted as circulated.
I can second that, Mary Ann.
Thank you.
Just a couple highlights. We had a few big events at the arena. All reviews and feedback were very positive. St. Clair Street construction continues from the public works end of it. I know myself, just interacting with people along St. Clair Street, they've noticed a big difference in interacting with contractors, and they found everybody's been very accommodating, at least in the small area of St. Clair Street that I've been talking to people. It was really good to hear.
Any other questions? Or any questions? All in favor? The next one is fire committee.
I'll move that the fire, minutes of the fire committee held May 13th be approved as circulated.
Second.
Thank you.
Just very brief, unfortunately, our fire group was not able to attend that meeting in person because they had a fire the night before, so they were still doing cleanup and investigations. But they did submit a report and it was read at the meeting. I don't have it any more than that to say.
All in favor? Okay. Next one is environmental.
Thank you. I move that the minutes of the Environmental Services Committee meeting held on May 13th, 2025 be approved as circulated. Thank you. Just some quick highlights. We're doing a little bit of road reconstruction and some sewer and water updates. Jay's very involved in that and is picking the leadership with Mike on making sure that project's going well. I think feedback to date is that the phase 2, 3, 4 are progressing well. Just some little things that we're dealing with and they're being dealt with properly. So I think it's all going well. It seems like we've got good space. The road signage is really good right now for getting people over to Victoria. We caught the valves at St. Clair, Michigan, which is great. And things seem to be progressing. I'm hearing good feedback as people are dealing with COPE and the like. We did have some discussion on the water services to some homes that we're concerned about. And we were going to follow up with the people one final time and just let them know that now is the time to do this if they want to do it from a cost and availability perspective. So thank you to you guys for this. We seem to be doing okay with this project.
Any questions? All in favor? And for finance.
I will move that the minutes of the finance committee meeting held May 13th, 2025 be approved and circulated.
I'll second that.
At this meeting, we reviewed the village donation policy. CAO Burns is going to prepare a report and present it at the next consideration.
All in favor? Miscellaneous. Number 1 is building permits, receive and file. Thank you. All in favor? Police board on March 27th.
I'll move that the police service board meeting minutes from March 27, 2025 be received and filed.
I'll second.
All in favor? Thank you. Management review meeting minutes from July. What's that?
It's
2024?
yep.
Oh, okay.
Myself, Jennifer, Jay, and Kim doesn't come to that one. She does, just to go over any issues with the water department, like any complaints,
Oh, okay.
those kinds of issues.
I'll move that.
All in favor?
A question?
Oh, question?
So, Marion, you mentioned it. The date is correct?
Yeah.
This is up to July 2024?
Yep. So, and this is an annual meeting, so there'll be another one coming up
Okay.
shortly. It must just not have got circulated for some reason. I don't know. It just like it's got to be after the meeting minutes have to be circulated to council.
Yeah, because the meeting was
So-
held July 15th, 2024. We'll
Yeah.
approve it now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So it must have just got missed at the time.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor? Thank you. Move on to, communications, receive and file 1 through 5, Emil.
Also moved. The receiving file 1 through 5, the email watch file.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Okay. New business. First one is a curb cut, 205 Arthur.
Okay, so this is requested 205 Arthur, and the different departments have had a chance to review. The only recommendation that come out of it, you have to make this a little bit bigger to read, is around the sewer clean out. And the environmental services manager is recommending that we have a double clean out installed. So we make that a condition of approval of the curb cut, that a double clean out be installed at the time of that the laneway or the drive is expanded.
And who pays?
They do.
They do.
It's the responsibility of the homeowner.
Just confirming.
And if they choose not to do it, then they don't get their curb cut. That's the recommendation.
Any other questions?
So I can move it as chair of environmental services, that the curb cut be approved with a condition that the double clean out as recommended be installed to the satisfaction of the environmental services department.
No, second.
Is that fit?
Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Number 2, signage for parks indicating fires and barbecues are not permitted.
So this is a matter that was discussed at September operations meeting last year. And there was discussion at the committee about the pros and cons of having signage put up in the park. And there was to be future discussion at a council meeting about that, just to get everybody. I don't think there was consensus. Memory serves me right at the committee meeting, so there was to be discussion at council to determine if we want to go ahead with that or not. And then Deputy Mayor Grimes sent us a picture of a sign from up in the Collingwood area, if I remember correctly. Just, something like this that would convey that fires are not permitted in the park. I believe there were a couple of calls last summer, and then there was another one 10 days, 2 weeks ago.
So if I may, Marion, I went back through the minutes as well, and at that meeting, we also discussed adding no camping, because at the time we were talking about encampment. So we we're gonna have one sign that would say no barbecues, open fires, or camping in municipal parks, and we weren't gonna. The talk was we were gonna, put a sign everywhere. It was gonna be as you drive into the waterfront park, there would be a sign, and possibly one over by the splash pad, because we have had people barbecue under the pavilion at the splash pad before. So, and there's no apostrophe needed if we do go ahead with this sign. So, the barbecues don't own anything. Drove me crazy when I saw it.
The signage at the splash pad in the pavilion, does it not say no barbecuing? It's on the side of the building.
I will have to look on that.
I went and looked but that's a while ago, and I thought there's a bunch of notes, like do not, on the side of the building, you know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about. I don't.
Okay, I have to double check, because it might already say on that sign. I thought it did, no barbecuing.
And then one of the things with signs like this is when you put the bylaw number at the bottom, it makes it
Yeah, it looks
It makes
official.
it makes it fully enforceable, and it helps any enforcement officer to write a ticket if it's right there on the sign too. So that is a condition of bylaw enforcement.
Councilman Madhu?
Why would we not put this in every park?
That was discussed at committee, is how many parks do we do?
Park's a park. Right? Just saying, like it's just a sign. That way we don't have any issues ongoing with that. People walk in, they see the sign, just a deterrent.
Yeah, that's
And are you okay with including the camping? Cause that was at the committee. We did talk about it.
Yeah. Sure.
So basically just put barbecues, open fires and camping not permitted in the park at any time. And then you just have to add a little tent or a
Mhm.
trailer or something like that in the circle. And it might be two different bylaws. I don't know if it is or not.
I'll check that.
Do we include overnight camping? I just think of those little sunshades. Sometimes people pop up and then you get into technicalities. Soccer teams use them all the time on the sidelines just for sun protection. Maybe they have it as just no overnight.
I just think our OPP officers
Yeah, because I thought that was covered in the bylaw where we actually said no overnight camping.
describe what it is.
But that we had that
Yeah.
separate. But I just know even
Yeah.
on, Mackinac days, people wheel in with
Yeah.
a big RV on wheels and park it. And they're there for, 15 hours probably hanging out, but just not overnight, because I know we do have that
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah.
No overnight parking
Mhm.
in that parking lot. How many signs do we think we would need for the waterfront park? Because that's, even if you're
Well, yeah,
coming in from different directions, like I know if you park in the main parking lot, you've got the parking lot at the soccer field, but then sometimes people will park at the waterworks and enter that way too. Like how many signs would we need?
But that part's not our land.
No, but as they can, doesn't matter
Yeah.
if they park there,
Right.
they're gonna enter on, do we need something at that end by the fish hatchery building?
I certainly hadn't thought of putting it there, but
It just, people will say I didn't see the sign, but and I don't want sign pollution either, but I'm just wondering, at which areas and how many would be necessary.
I think we refer this back to staff to
just
come
gonna-
to us with
Yeah.
a,
Mike's giving the nod.
yeah,
I was think they-
come back with a plan.
Yeah.
A map or-
back with some suggestions
Yeah.
for all parts.
and a cost.
Yes.
And you can check that sign that's on the building,
I'll do that.
because that's one time somebody rolled out a barbecue right there. But I think it's covered in the sign, but these are more visible.
And these are also,
So,
if you're not able to read English or understand, like
Yeah.
the pictures help with the understanding as well, rather than the verbal one at the pavilion.
Okay, so
So I guess I'll make a
we've got a
move,
motion to.
I'll make a motion that is referred to staff and a report come to our next where do you want to bring it to committee or back to council?
Committee's the next earliest meeting.
Okay, Mike nodded.
Somewhere around 13th might be committee day. something
yeah, I
like that.
believe it's the 11th,
11th.
something like
Okay,
that.
all in favor?
10th,
Into which committee are we bringing it to?
operations.
Okay, the next one is patio request at Los Pintos, Encino.
So this is a request from the owner to have, well, I mean, just in the email, it says you'd like to have a patio in the back parking lot that would kind of serve as a waiting area, basically, to get into the restaurant. People could have drinks there, maybe light appetizer type food. He talks about having music once in a while. In his letter, he says till 10 o'clock. Anything you want to add, Mike? Yeah, come up to the microphone, please.
Thank you. I did speak with the owner, on multiple occasions and actually went down to Los Puntos to get more of an understanding of what he was looking at. The area he's speaking about is at the back where he's looking to block off an area where you could possibly have 20 to 30 people. He's got an exterior bar at that point where he'd be able to serve and then allow people to come in as the tables opened up inside. I was trying to ask him to be very specific with his details. I found his details were a little bit too erratic. He didn't really pin down, could be this day, could be this day, could be this day. That was one of the requests I had for him, as well as there was the discussion I had with him about the front of the Los Puntos and moving back his gated area just due to some accessibility details that we spoke about. It is very, very narrow and it's very too close to the parking to the actual curb, where if anybody was in a wheelchair or had assistive technology to be able to help them move around that. It might be too tight for them to be able to do so. So those are, I just want to add those two elements to the discussion. If there's any questions, I think so.
Can you just repeat the part, the front patio you've suggested he move back?
Move closer to the building.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So I ran into Sean somewhere and we were talking about, some municipalities allow, businesses to take a parking spot or two and put a patio out there. I was just in Windsor on the weekend and they have a bunch of them in their downtown equipped pool where they build like a deck in the two parking spots, but and then your sidewalk remains fully accessible, but you do lose two parking spots, so it's
That was a point he also had brought up. And he mentioned that it was something he should probably.
Yeah,
So-
he'd have to go through the process.
Any other questions? Actually, the city of Sarnia just approved sideways. What do you call that? Yeah.
Mhm.
They're taking two parking spaces out of their parking lot beside it
And so they,
and allowing a 1-year pilot to try it.
and the other one down beside the Capitol, they did it during COVID.
Yeah, I
and they
remember
created
that,
one out
yeah.
front of it.
So, all in favor?
Well,
Sorry, no.
Move it.
yeah, we don't have a motion
Sorry.
yet.
I
I
was
don't think, no.
So I'll move it, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll move to approve, the patio extension of Los Puntos as a more of a waiting area for patrons for a table as per the details put out by our operation manager.
No second.
Right, is that, I mentioned to him, there was previous complaints about the music. So I wanted it to be determined, like, he said, well, once in a while, and that's okay, but it needs a cutoff time, so from the neighbors behind. Like 10 o'clock, so it needs to be written what the cutoff time is.
The staff recommendation would be that they follow what Mayor Hand said, that we have very specific details written in there, and if there's some. I believe if there's any way it could be, a bit of a challenge back to council, so I would ask that he comes back with a more stringent plan with some details that we could then potentially just.
The only problem with a more stringent plan is it's a month
Yeah,
in summer.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I mean, he's had the opportunity, you told him that. I would recommend saying Friday, Saturday night, maybe Sunday night, and it's done by 10 o'clock.
And it's
Cause
he did say his letter acoustic only,
Yeah.
we should hold him to that as well.
and this gentleman has been pretty good, like he will ask and push, for more, but then when council sets a direction, he's been pretty good at following it, so. I think, if you consider adding that to your motion, that it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights, done at 10 o'clock, acoustic music only. And if he wants more than that, I'm sure he'll come ask. So at least that gives them something, a starting point.
Yeah, I'd like to get it done tonight because,
Yeah.
tonight would be a night to sit outside and, there's trying to make money doing this, so I don't want to push it off for any more time.
So you okay with that amendment?
I have a.
And
I have
Him
one.
as well.
I think Thursday's more valuable to a business than Sunday.
Well, he's closed on Sundays too.
Oh,
Oh,
So that'd
well,
be
there you
really,
go.
really.
Because a lot of, like with the advent of Fridays off, there's more people go out like on a Thursday night,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like the long weekend.
That's a
thing.
lot of people's payday.
Yeah, yeah,
If you look in the note he said Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
Okay.
possibly Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
With the-
line, that's
with a firm
okay.
cutoff.
Well, I think what Councillor Burgess said, the details as in the letter, which he says
Yeah.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday afternoon, and then he did say 4 till 9. So we can hold him to 4 till 9,
Okay.
and he did say acoustic, so I think
All right,
the
Okay.
thing, as outlined in his letter.
Because I thought we had approved something similar last year and it doesn't seem to be too far off what he asked for last year and they thought it went quite well for them.
It did say 4 to 9, but not past 10.
Yeah.
I know he said 10 o'clock when he was in there, so.
Well,
Anyway,
he's leaving room for encores.
that's decent.
Yeah.
Okay, so then. Need a motion then.
No, we got
We
that.
got it.
Paul maybe.
I seconded it.
Okay, all in favor? Okay. Okay, the next one is procedural bylaw review.
So that was put forward by me. I was just looking just to go over the procedure because things change. And the only thing that I saw myself was section 13. And that's just the number of days between when the agenda gets published in the meeting. And it does say it has to be done by noon the day before the meeting, which is our minimum, which some gives us like 28, 29 hours to prepare for a meeting. I know Jim is usually pretty good at getting it out by Friday and sometimes Thursday. I just wanted to establish a full 5 days. Sometimes when we get it later, if you go away on the weekend and you got things to do, it's harder to get at it and also harder to contact staff about stuff. So when I proposed the change to 5 days, that includes the weekend. So it would be like Thursday. And then the other part would be if there's any changes in those 5 days, that we just be advised by email. Because sometimes you go in and you do e-scribe and you read through it all and then find out when you get to the meeting where there's been 2 things added. So that's all I was looking to change. And everything else seemed okay to me.
Councilman Madhu?
I'm looking at this and we have delegations. They have to have their request in by Wednesday prior to the meeting. They don't even know what the agenda is until, they won't even know until Thursday, Friday. So
you're wondering if there's people responding to something that's on the agenda.
Correct.
So our practice has always been to permit that if somebody sees something on the agenda and they want to come in, that's for kind of proactive things that, like, if Cam wants to come talk to us about a stop sign, he should let me know by Wednesday at noon. If we put something on the agenda about a stop sign and Cam wants to respond to it, I mean, we've always accepted
That'll
that.
be an
Bring it up
exception.
to, yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that.
And it's good you brought that up because so that means delegations report to Jim by Wednesday at noon, and then you'd have the agenda out the next day possibly. And as I'm also looking at it so that the public have time to also go to the website, see what's on the agenda, and then be able to attend the meeting if it affects them.
I got another thing. Well, in the past, we used to send out a notice that I know the council meetings are at the same time all the time and all that, but we used to send a notice out. I know on Twitter we sent it and we did it on Facebook, and this was a previous council. Now we don't do that, and I don't know if that we should be doing that for transparency. Let people know, because even though it's on the calendar and where people are supposed to know, it just, gets them thinking again about, what we're doing here, because sometimes we've been accused of doing things, and nobody's aware, but, it's trying to be open to our residents.
So, yeah, I mean, we can do that. And we can even put a link in the notice to the agenda. So, I mean, it's just it's not a difficult thing to do. It takes 30 seconds. It's just
I know
getting in
it's
the
one
habit
more
of
thing
doing
to
it.
do, but
Yeah.
I think it helps with getting information out to our residents.
So would you like that written into the bylaw somewhere or do you just want us to make it a practice?
Of a notice. With a
Yeah.
link.
I'll find a place to put in the bylaw and
Okay.
it won't be hard to do, I don't think.
And then the other part of what I recommended was just some wording about where we set on a shared drive and just changing that to I didn't want to use eScribe because
This could be something
it
else.
could be something else, right?
Down the
The
road.
council meeting software and on the website.
So there, couple of things, there's been discussion in the past and then a bit of discussion maybe 6 weeks or so ago about the possibility of going to a system of having 2 council meetings a month rather than a committee day and a council day. And so a little bit of this, I thought now was appropriate time to do that. There would be I would think there's some pretty substantial changes that would have to be made to the procedural bylaw to do that. So I thought now is probably an opportune time to have that discussion. I've been giving it a fair little bit of thought, and there's, I've listed the pros and cons, and I mean, I'm sure there's others than what I've come up with. My vision of this potentially would be to have on the second Tuesday of the month, have your council meeting, but have it broken down like committees. So you have a operations section, a fire section, an environmental section, and a finance administration, and basically go through it the same way we go through agenda now. Keep some of the, the formal stuff that we have, that you kind of have to do at a council meeting in terms of like the land acknowledgement and all those kind of legalese ideas, and then have the ability to put something on that agenda if you wish to. So, and then on the fourth Tuesday of the month, do kind of the broader picture stuff like we do now, but and then we also approve the committee meeting minutes. So that's how I kind of see it, separating the business that way. But that's just one person's thoughts, right?
And are you suggesting it be like committee of the whole is what we would call it rather than a council meeting?
To me, that's, I don't, whatever you want. To me, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. They're the same thing, in my opinion. Now because now the one advantage of doing 2 meetings a day or 2 meetings a month instead of what we do now, if it's a council meeting on the second Tuesday, then the decisions that are made that day can be acted on fully. If we make it a committee of the whole, then technically those decisions can't be acted on until those minutes are approved 2 weeks later. And so there's certain things you can act upon and there's others you can't. So in my mind, if you make them 2 council meetings, then their final decisions, you can act on them right away. So that would be up to councils. I think we can work with it either way. As far, the one discussion about one of the reasons that we've done committee meetings, or one of the advantages we've thought about it, is giving counselors experience in chairing meetings. I think we can still do that if we did it on the second Tuesday of the month and still did it kind of in a council fashion. Then Tim chairs the operations section, Councillor Roundu, Councillor Noctor, you each chair your own section of the meeting. The mayor chairs the stuff outside of the committee piece. So council members can still get that experience if that's important to people.
If it's called committee of the whole, can you not then convene council immediately after to confirm the proceedings of the committee of the whole earlier and then stuff can be acted on? I like the idea of it being, because I would also recommend that if we continue to have that meeting during the day, so that all staff could attend, as you mentioned in your notes. So if it's committee of the whole at 10 a.m. on the second Tuesday, goes till noon, and then the committee of the whole meeting adjourns, and then council convenes and does a confirming bylaw to confirm the actions. I don't know if that's a procedure.
Yeah, let me think about that one and get some.
Because I do like it being committee style because Mayor Hans talked about this before, where we're a little more informal in a committee.
Get more into the detail that you wouldn't be doing in a full council meeting, because you would be trying to be more brief. That's what I think.
So if it's called a committee of the whole, then I think we would have that mentality of getting more into the nuts and bolts. I know a lot of communities do. When I lived in Ajax, that's the way they did it, committee of the whole, and then 2 weeks later was a council meeting.
Okay, I can follow up on that.
Well, the county
Confirming.
does it that way, but we don't meet that day to everything goes to the next council meeting. You do
Right.
committee of the whole, 2 weeks later, it's council meeting, and then everything's confirmed.
Yeah,
And you've only recently merged your AM and PM committees in one big
Yeah,
committee,
this
right?
year. I think it's
You
since
used to have
January,
two
maybe?
committees,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, AM and PM.
Mm.
I think it was in January, maybe.
the other thing that I considered in this is you can do it as like a pilot, right? You can say, let's try this for the rest of 2025, see how we like it. If we don't like it, go back to the way it was. Like there's nothing, you can make some changes today and that doesn't stop you from making further changes down the road if you wish to.
I have concerns about a 2-hour meeting in the middle of the day on a weekday. But like for me, yes, but also for like if we did a pilot and then in the future, it was adopted, then it might deter more people from wanting to run for a council seat in the future, just because it's very difficult to book into a typical work week.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, the timing is like, would it be better if we did it at 3 o'clock? Would it, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, just like, I mean, it would depend on the person, but
Right,
anytime during someone's workday would be 2 hours in the middle of a workday is a lot of time to. And that's obviously like an idea of a time. We would never know how long.
Right.
right.
Yes.
So you have to plan for it most of the day. If not the whole day.
Yeah, whereas now your commitment on committee day is about an hour.
Yeah.
At the
It's
most.
manageable.
Okay, so,
So I mean, does council want me to spend a little bit more time on this and flesh it out a little bit? Or do you want to just continue on the way things are?
I like it the way it is.
I'll do-
Again, I'm always thinking when I started, I had a young family. I think of all those things. Time commitments on weekdays, depending on what someone's employment is, and I think we would be limiting who would run for a seat on council in the future. Because you don't want everybody from the same demographic. It's nice to have some diversity on council. I think the way it's run now, people can make that committee meeting. And then you can plan around it for your, everything that comes up.
And I always like that we have 4 committees and we have 4 people. It works out, to rotate every year, that you get that experience focusing on your committee. I always thought that was an advantage.
I think Jim's proposal is still to do that rotation, but we would just meet back to back to
Yeah.
back with everything, but it is nice to get everybody's input at the committee stage rather than talk about something and then 2 weeks later, councilors then only get to weigh in, but
And if I can just make a point, if you're really interested in something on one of the other agendas, we have access to all those. You can go to the meeting, you can watch it, you know what I mean? Like you're still, if there's an issue that, you, as I said, you're very involved with or want to know about, we've got ways today to do that very easily, right? Since everything's online now. So.
That's a good point. I appreciate that because I know we get everybody's committee notes, everybody's arena reports, public work reports. And if there was something that we wanted to comment on, we could deal with that right away before the meeting and get that feedback in or show up and make a comment if that was allowed.
so I think the direction is,
Who wants to stay the same, who wants to change?
well, there's 2 parts to this. So the first part is the distribution of the agenda and
Right, that was the original issue.
yeah, so is that,
discussing.
so we should do that as 2
Yeah.
parts, I guess?
Yeah.
So there is one other minor piece about the agenda.
Yeah.
Section 14C states that notice of special meeting must be given by the clerk by telephone. I don't know that I've ever called any of you folks to say there's a special meeting in 2 days. I just wonder if I can update that language to,
Let's
What's the
notify
more-
the Clerk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think we need to say how you notify.
you don't have to
Okay.
say how you're
Good.
notified, just,
so
Yeah.
pretty minor.
yeah.
Knock at our front door. Yep. So do you want to do it in 3 parts?
I think just a motion to make the recommended changes
To 13
to 13 and
and
14.
14, and then no action on,
The other, just leave it alone and it dies.
okay,
So, I mean, you can make a motion to turn it down, but
no.
You don't.
So I'll move that we accept the changes to section 13 and 14 as,
So just for clarification. 5 days, so is that like Thursday at noon,
well, if you're due 5 24-hour,
Thursday
say
before-
Thursday at 5.
Thursday closing time?
Yeah. Is that achievable,
manageable?
Jim? for you?
I prefer Thursday at 5 than Thursday at noon.
For sure,
It's just like that 5 hours, a lot gets done.
Yeah.
the end of the work.
And it's, I
Oh, yeah.
know I've missed the Friday
Yeah.
end of day deadline in the past,
Yeah.
but that's when a lot of the action happens is between noon and 5 o'clock on Friday.
So
So
I-
it's just
yeah.
between noon and
Yeah.
5 on
So
Thursday.
I had only left noonings, that's what it was, but
Okay,
I'm okay with end of day, like 5,
okay,
and then 5 PM.
Yeah.
Or just 5 days before the meeting, right? Like if the meeting's
and
at
if I
5,
work till 7 o'clock to get it done, that's 2 hours is not
yeah,
gonna be
yeah,
a big
yeah.
deal. Okay,
And then for committee, it would be like 5 days, like technically, for a tentative, 5 days.
yeah,
Well, same rules for committee.
Need a seconder.
I'll second.
All in favor?
so I'll make those changes and then bring the bylaw back to the next meeting for final approval.
Thank you.
And then code of conduct. Wrong one. So our code of conduct hasn't been reviewed since 2019. And just felt that we should have a look at that as well. Or actually, Councillor Mondu suggested that we have a look at that while we're doing these things tonight.
It
Um,
kind of ties into the procedure bylaw.
They do kind of
You know, they're
work hand in
referencing-
hand a little bit. So again, Jennifer and I went through this bylaw, a couple of just minor housekeeping things. I don't remember what was up here originally, but it was like the municipality as a code of conduct or something, so it needs to be has a code of conduct. And then I thought there was one other right here. It refers to the procedural bylaw, and even so, the one that's referred in here is 27 of 19. Obviously, we have an updated one from then, 10 of 2023. So we can update that number, but then I've added in or subsequent procedural bylaw just for that way, if we were to update the procedural bylaw again for some reason in 2 years, we don't have
That's the last
necessarily have to come back and fix this one right away. It can the new bylaw would automatically be include that section
I've got an addition.
3.1N.
I got an addition to 4. And I'd like to see. Let's see, cell phones. Not to be used in open or closed sessions. One of the quirky dots would be you need to keep it on vibrate or silent in open session and turn it off in closed session. And that's due to security reasons. For policies. And in case of emergency. You ask for permission to exit the chamber to use your phone. So. That's something I know, I've been approached by a resident who was watching our meetings and saw couple counselors on phones during the meetings and they were bothered by that. So. It's tough to do your job and pay attention and do other things as well. But that was an enhancement I'd like to see.
Any other questions about that?
Can you
Comments?
specify what you mean when you say turn it off? Like power down, or you mean like keep it
Well,
not like the screen on specific?
just because closed sessions are closed sessions, right? None of that information is ever supposed to get out. If the phone's available, it can be recording. There can be pictures taken, there can be. That's, you know, that's just
There.
my take on it.
Part 8 confidential information covers the sharing of information, and anybody that does something like that that's being alleged would be covered by that, I think. So I think as a, I
Just
don't-
keep them silent.
yeah, which I think most of us do keep them silenced. And I think we do have personal lives outside this chamber, and there are times that somebody has to get a hold of us on an emergency basis, or either a relative or childcare or whatever. So I think shutting a phone right off is a little much. I think we can manage the two, but that's my thoughts.
Well, and our iPads are giant phones,
Yeah.
basically.
Oh,
They
yeah,
take
that's true.
pictures, they
Yeah.
record, they do everything a phone does.
Mhm.
I mean, we have all our meeting stuff on these, so,
I might take a picture of you right now.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
So Counselor Mondu is proposing that we refrain from use of cellular phones during in-camera sessions and limit,
Session.
pardon, and open session? Okay.
There's really no need to use your phone during a council meeting. In my mind. If you need to, you ask for permission to leave the chambers and take care of your business outside. You can come back. It shows respect to your fellow councilors and your residents.
Any other discussion? I will say, I was in a closed door meeting where someone got called out. Like enough that wasn't me, but I jumped because it was a shout, but it was someone texting on a phone during a closed meeting. And like, why would you be doing that? This is a closed meeting. And the phone was put away, but.
Or you can make it cell phones or a similar device.
So then you wouldn't be able to use your, the information that, or computer, yeah, like everything would have to be paper.
Or your Apple Watch, or
my watch went off just now, and I didn't look at it.
Yeah,
just think all these devices are
Yeah.
connected.
I understand
You-
that,
you know
what you're
where-
getting at,
yeah,
it's really tricky to, to word properly or
Yes.
to enforce, I think it.
Well, that's what I was struggling with today when I was looking again, is what's the wording for this? Right?
use of. I mean, you can have it sitting there, you're just not up playing with it.
Yeah.
using it.
But again, anything you can do on your phone, you could have open on there.
Yeah.
Like especially, I mean, you have an iPad, if you have an iPhone, you could have
Good point.
everything.
And there have been meetings where I've made notes in my notes section of my phone and referred to them as well. So I think we're all adults and know when and we can and can't use our phone. I don't think we need to have a code of conduct to say that we can't.
It can be disconcerting,
Yeah.
if you don't know why somebody's playing on their phone.
Mhm.
So I would have never thought, they're putting notes in, so I just jot something down, but. I mean, there is a reason why it is disconcerting. In my opinion.
Is there another way that we could add something about that to the code of conduct without making it technology specific?
Well, where was that paragraph you were referencing in the number?
8, very good, in section, do you remember exactly what?
Yeah,
number?
all of part 8 talks about confidential information and not sharing.
Oh,
Um, A member shall not disclose the content of any confidential information or the substance of deliberations of a closed meeting. Duty to hold the information received at closed meetings in strict confidence for as long as broadly as confidence applies. So that's basically saying I could not take pictures, I could not record, I could not do anything like that. Shall not disclose, use, or release confidential information in contravention of privacy laws. Shall not misuse confidential information. Shall respect the right to confidentiality and privacy of all. A member shall not disclose any information received by virtue of his or her office, even if we cease to be. So I think our conduct in a closed session is pretty much covered there, in my opinion.
And I think that, you know, the other piece of that, with your recommendation is respect. right?
Absolutely.
But that is covered in number 4. Like, I think that, what is it, 4B? Conduct themselves with integrity, courtesy, and respectability at all meetings.
Yes.
That does encompass. So, you know, if someone is.
Playing Candy Crush.
Yeah, exactly, good example.
Yeah.
Playing Candy Crush on their phone, then that is a 100%.
I'm not familiar with that.
We are.
Yeah.
We're younger.
Phone is not a toy to me.
Yeah.
Anyways.
It's not really a phone anymore.
Yeah. The mini computer.
You see people in the media that instead of having a teleprompter, they're reading off their phone
Yeah.
to do a news report
Yeah.
if they're on the street somewhere. Like it's not really a phone.
Okay, so
No, actually, I think it's.
we've got basically one or two saying yes, and I think 3 saying leave it where it is, I think.
Yeah, I think it's all well covered, like everybody said.
I just wanted to get it out there though, just so we have this discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Did you have another?
No,
Oh, I thought you said you had 2, sorry.
no.
I recorded you saying that.
Okay,
Yeah.
you too, it'll be on YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm not very sure on this.
Okay,
I have
So-
2 new business, that's when it's done.
so there's a couple of minor changes to this bylaw. I'll update it and bring it back as well then.
Our bylaw, not the county bylaw.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
I have 2 items.
okay, and wait,
So both these apply to Mike. Number one, so that we, at a meeting, you talked about that new bulletin board we put down at the waterfront, and it's lovely and well constructed, but there's no signage on it or explanation of what it is. Is that are you planning on putting something like community bulletin board or something like
There
that?
is, I'm just placing one with Riverside Signs to have a 4x4 sign with the village logo saying information board. It'll be posted on once it's printed.
4 foot by 4 foot?
4 foot by 4, but on the back of the sign, it'll cover the entire back of the sign, indicating from the parking lot that it's an information board, and on the other side, we'll have all the details.
Okay. And then my second follow-up question is,
Mhm.
should there be any type of rules of use? Like, so somebody puts up a sign that they don't like Prime Minister Carney, let's say, and how would we police the use of that board?
The board will only be, the information will be provided by us to be put in the board. The board's gonna have, currently it has a
the cover.
Lexan cover, which has been vandalized and removed.
Of course.
But
Yeah.
we have a solution in place that will be putting that back in. But we will control the
Okay.
information that is. in-
Because I hadn't seen the other side of it
Yes.
yet, so, okay, so, and it'll be locked,
Yes,
and so people would have to bring, but I'm wondering, should we even have something in there, like one of our signs is saying, to post on this board, bring your thing to the office or whatever, right?
certainly could.
Like how people could post, so it doesn't have to be a Riverside sign, just
Mhm.
like something the office could print, so, okay, thank you for that.
So just back up for a second, just
All right.
the backstory. So this was brought to us from the county and asking us if we would place it there. And they intend to perhaps bring things in for countywide events. And that's how we got it.
Yep.
Like,
I am in contact with
yeah,
Stephanie.
they asked us if we would home it.
If I could just add to
Yeah.
that, we had discussed this previously as well. I'm not sure if there's any more discussion, but around like our standards for what we are willing to put in there, of having something very specific. So that we have a reason to approve or deny what goes in there.
We could follow up with Stephanie and see, they probably have something already created for the county. And we could use that as a starting point to see if it would fit our needs. Okay, thanks.
And then my next item, I've asked this this will be the third year, but is the repainting of our stop bars and crosswalks, in particular around the school. So 3 years ago, we talked about and said we'd get it done. Last year, when I asked, we were told that we were getting an engineer to design it and get it painted. And now here we are this year, and I'm just wondering where we're at with getting them done.
What specific locations will we, it's directly around the school? Is it Charleston?
And so that's a primary area, but we have stop bars around the village that have faded and are no longer there or barely there. And then there is a transition, I keep blinding you guys, there's a transition for crosswalks to be the step ladder kind. So I'm wondering, hey, should we be contracting? I was at Kincardine last weekend and they had a company in just doing all their lines and arrows and signs, whether we should be looking at sourcing that out so it gets done every spring and updated, or whether our guys can do it. But I'm just looking for direction on when we're gonna bring them back up to where they should be. Yep.
Yes, please come forward.
Yes.
Thank you. No, I have spoken to our public works foreman and the staff. There is a list of areas that we will be painting over the next month and a half in the early mornings to make sure that we complete them. There are stop bars that are on there that exist. We are hoping to repaint those.
Mhm.
There are a couple locations that we are looking to determine if ladders are required according to the book and regulations. We will have that determined at that point. There is always a possibility of bringing an engineer into play or a contractor to do that. I think due to the size of the village, that I think we have enough capacity to replace them on a basis that is doable at this point. So
Is the paint we use as good as other people's paint? Because I notice when we do the lines on Michigan,
Mhm.
the lines the city paints last much longer than the ones we put at the end of the boxes. Are we using the same grade of paint?
Same thing.
Is it?
It's the same thing. There are different types of adhesions. There's a heat down
Yeah.
adhesion that we can purchase. That becomes more of a balance of cost.
Yeah.
It's very expensive to do that. But I have the high traffic areas that we see a lot of fade. That is an area that we really try to.
Yeah, I thought we'd moved to that, the thermal one, because
The thermal.
Well, it's
is
more
on
ex-
Michigan,
while it's more expensive,
Yes,
it lasts many years
that
more.
is correct. Yeah.
So even like McCrae Park, I think we did all in the thermal, and
That's right.
they look good and they stay, so.
Like I said, it's from what the understanding that I have of this, it's traffic dependent. If there is not a lot of traffic use, you don't want to go down to the thermal route. It's very expensive for minimal traffic use.
Mhm.
But that is the defining aspect of understanding.
And I think just historically, so you're aware, like, we did agree to allow some crosswalks to fade away, because if we had crosswalks like across Michigan Ave, they gave the inference that you could cross there and they couldn't. So I get that. But then there's other areas all around the school where the kids cross, where I think we could do a better job of highlighting safe crossing and stop bars and the like. As you know, the pavement markings create a sense of safety and slowing traffic down and the like. So I'm just looking to make sure that this year we're going to get to most of these and get them addressed. So that's all.
I can bring some dates.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, absolutely.
just on that, if you do put like the ladders in, like at the school, I think it's a visual deterrent as well. And it helps the driver know that, because I've been around there lately and there's people blowing through those stop signs like crazy. They don't even think of it, but if they see the on the surface.
Yeah, and the
the
stop
light,
bar, yeah.
Then it'll maybe clue them in that there's a stop sign there as well, right?
I do think that the disruption of traffic in the flow right now because of the construction project is adding a little bit more of that speed and maybe not understanding where the stop signs are or that, as you've mentioned, I've noticed that as well.
And also people that aren't familiar with the area,
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, are driving on roads they don't
yeah,
understand.
they have no idea where they're going.
And what's, and then final question, what's the time frame on the four-way stops?
June.
Pardon me?
June. Yeah, I've just, the stops, all the hardware's there, we have all the signage, it's just to make sure that I want to confirm that, any details from the MTO that I've got to complete. I think we're in good shape and everything, but if I can complete, or if I can get the confidence that we can go, it'll be June,
Like June
this.
1st or June 30th?
Within the month, June.
Okay. And are we putting a sign up that says this will become a four-way stop on?
I will follow whatever the regulations are in the book of
So
MTO.
yes,
Yes?
there is regulations.
Yes.
Signs.
Yes,
Yeah.
But I know there's the new sign after you do it,
Mhm.
but is there a requirement for a sign that says,
I don't have the information, I can pick it up and.
You did that at the school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever the signage
Yeah.
is that's required according to the book, I'll make sure that's there,
Mhm.
for sure.
okay, I'm just confused if we're doing this in a couple of weeks,
We have all the sound.
but even the sign that says on June 14th, this will become a four-way stop sign? That's the one I don't think we have. And that's the one we keep talking about.
So that's what I'm trying to confirm right now with the details that I need to do, that if that is in the book, or if that's something we want to do over and above that.
That's what
we can
that's-
certainly do that.
That's why we've asked about it for months now, is over and above, yeah, like, when we did it at school, we put a sign up that said, this intersection will be a four-way stop as of June the 27th or whatever. It was up there for lead up to it so that people became aware.
I can.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. That's all, Mary.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
I have a couple things to highlight. The provincial government is reviewing the OPP cost recovery model. And they've determined that they will have it done before the 2026 annual billing. And it's understanding the impacts of rising police costs is why they're doing it. And what happened when they released last year's statistics or last year's billing. Over the month of June, there's going to be opportunities for engagement. We haven't been contacted yet, but once we are, I'll put it out. It's will allow you to sign on to different webinars to be able to give information towards that billing, well, for the review. But nothing, it hasn't come yet. They just said it would come for June. Some evening last week, I went to the Salmon Derby to present the check to the winner with the winning fish. And I just wanted to bring back the thank you that I got from the anglers was really heartfelt. I felt the way that they expressed their thanks to the village. They said it openly on the mic. People came up to me afterwards again to say we really appreciate it. And next year is their 50th anniversary derby. And they're struggling as an organization, similar to some of our other organizations, such as Optimus, is they made an appeal to members, for people to come forward and join. And I felt like I have to put my hand up. I didn't, but they need new members to help. There's a lot of work putting one of those events together. They had so many gifts and bikes and electric coolers. Anyway, so they were really appreciative of the support that they got from the village. Friday night is our car vintage in the park. So just a reminder, that's the first one of 5. And it's from 5 till 8 at the waterfront. You know the charity? It doesn't say which. Oh, Inn of the Good Shepherd is the first charity. And one other, I'll send out a reminder, but there's to be a mini powwow down at the Souls Memorial in June. I think it's the second week of June. It's a collaboration to honor a collaboration. I've mentioned it before, but I just bring it up because it's getting close. With the Blue Water Bridge and Anjouan to a naturalization project. And it culminates with this mini powwow. So it's at 10:30 on the date in June. I'll send a reminder to everybody when I get the information. That's all I had. Anybody else with any events or comments? Nope. Then do bylaws. 13 and 14.
So 13 is just our tax rate bylaw. Allows us to send out our next round of tax bills.
Who's finance?
Right.
Did you look ahead to the weather for Friday?
It changes, but
It changes all the
it
time.
doesn't look great.
No,
I'll look at.
couldn't think there'd be much rain off out there.
Yeah,
We just have to
Yeah.
move bylaw
you can read it from
13.
there if you like.
That's a hard problem.
Excuse me.
Decipher something out of that.
Which part was it?
Just the very bottom, the last lines.
Yeah, sure. That this bylaw be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed the 27th day of May 25th. With regards to bylaw number 14, 2025.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Right. Number 14.
This is just formalizing the
yeah.
agreement we have with the gentleman on Simpson Street.
Yep, so moved that this be read a first, second, and third time and finally passes 27th day of May 2025, which is bylaw number 14 of 2025, being a bylaw to permit a temporary trailer at 920 Simpson Street in the village of Glen Edward.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Okay. And then I need a resolution to go in camera.
I'll move. You moving the camera?
Thanks for coming out.
See you, Cam. Catch you next time.
Check out the.
Check out, hey, well, good luck finding it. It's gone.
Thanks.
Yeah, take care.
So
Good all.
well, good point. It's probably not. Thanks, Ariana.
You're welcome.